Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. I've been putting off this review for a while now. I talked about it in one of my videos how I wanted to make sure I got some footage and made this video as great as it could be. I have not had the time. I've not been able to find the time to get my footage that I need. So this is likely just going to be a review of me talking at the camera like I typically do. Sometimes I've been able to cultivate some footage as of late, but today I just really want to talk about this game because I love it so much. I've been putting it off for a while, so if there's no editing or anything like that, hopefully you'll just stick around and just enjoy what I have to say about this game because it's really fantastic. The modern release I want to talk about today is Bug Fables. Now this game is a game that I had not even heard about until one of my commenters suggested it one day. And I was just blown away because I had talked about how I was really excited about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I think that's what brought it up, or something like that. I talked about how much I loved the Paper Mario franchise way back in the day. And it was like, hey, if you like Paper Mario, if you like Thousand Year Door, Bug Fables is very much like that. And I'd never even heard the name of the game before. And I finally went and checked it out. It was on sale. It happened to be on sale when he recommended it to me, so I bought it on PlayStation. It's fantastic. It's so good. This is very much, it definitely wears its inspiration on its sleeves. This is like a paper aesthetic game that has the RPG elements that you expect in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. It has like timed button presses to do damage, has different like mechanics to increase your damage or increase your damage you resist when you're doing blocking and stuff like that. Very much like the Paper Mario franchise, but it also deviates in a lot of ways and sets itself apart and makes itself like its own identity in a really beautiful way. So I want to talk about what makes this game so fantastic and why you should go check it out if you've never even heard of this game or if you've heard about it and have not tried it yet. Now, like I said, this is kind of like a shoot-off, a spiritual successor to Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. You play as three bugs. You have Kabu, like a green beetle, very heavy armored beetle. You have Vi, a little bumblebee, and you have Leaf, a moth, who are this ragtag group of people that get put together to go and get these artifacts for the queen, who is looking for the Everlasting Sapling. And that is the subtitle of this game. It's Bug Fables The Everlasting Sapling. So they're looking for this thing to grant wishes, bring everlasting life, stuff like that. It's mostly legend at this point, but they know that these artifacts have something to do with it. And so the queen gets them together and says, hey, if you guys can get these artifacts, I'll reward you for it, and we'll be able to find the Everlasting Sapling, make the Ant Kingdom the best that it can possibly be. There are several kingdoms in this game. You have the Ant Kingdom, which you are a part of. You have the Bee Kingdom, which Vi is a part of, but not really, kind of adjacent to at this point. You have the Wasp Kingdom, which is very antagonistic. You have some other kingdoms that you find out about later on in the game that are really cool. I'll probably be talking about those. I'll be keeping this relatively spoiler-free. I won't be getting into the story details, but I'll talk a little bit later on about some of the things, so I'll give you some warning before that happens, though. I'll just talk in general terms otherwise. So you play this ragtag group of characters going on their own quest. And what makes it so nice is each of them have their own dynamic in the group. Each of them have their own little journey that they're going on. And you'll discover as you progress throughout the story the things that make each of them tick. Some of the key characteristics of Kabu, for instance, he's very knightly. He feels very much like a queen's knight. That's his he's very chivalrous. He's very respectful. He doesn't like the Vi's attitude. She's pretty brash and up in your face, always asking for a reward. And then you have Leaf, who's kind of a mystery, very, very different. It has access to this ice magic early on that you don't really understand where it comes from. He seems to be very, very old as well. He references how he was alive when this queen's mother was alive, so it's been a very, very long time. He's been lying dormant for a while, and so there's a lot of mystery and intrigue surrounding him. And each of them, as they progress throughout the story, kind of evolve into new versions of themselves, or that we just get to see their true self emerge as they progress. Kabu has plenty of things that he is hiding from his team that he doesn't really want to share, he doesn't want to divulge. Vi is the same way, doesn't like talking about the Bee Kingdom or why she's not really there, why she's out adventuring when most of the bees stay home. Leaf just doesn't know a lot about what's going on, but even as the memories come up and the stuff that he does remember, he's very private about, and it's really hard to they have a lot of conflict early on, which I always think is the best way to have like having interpersonal conflict in a group and a party is always really fantastic. In like a Dungeons and Dragons setting, this is really helpful to have some like back and forth and some kind of heated moments. It really helps drive narrative. And I think they do that really excellently in this game. They did a really great job of writing fantastic dialogue and making you really care about these characters. There's no voice acting in this game. It's just the little kind of sound effects that you typically get from these types of RPGs and this style of game. This game, I don't think, was made on a huge budget. I think it was made in like the Unity engine. It looks really fantastic. I think they did their very best with whatever they put together. The game is, I think it's like $25 new. You can get it on sale for a little bit cheaper. So like they put together a really solid package. I think I put in about around 35 hours with all the end game content. I actually got lucky. I finished the game. I was right when I was about to review it, and I found out there's some post-game content which they had just barely added. They just patched the game fairly recently within the last couple of weeks. And there's extra stuff. There's extra bonus stuff, which I finally did. I played through this game with my kids. They had a great time. They love all the little bugs. They love the interactions of everybody. They loved spying on all the enemies. That's the main mechanic. Kind of like is it Goombella? I can't remember. In Paper Mario, who can spy on the enemies to like get them into the logbook. They have a similar mechanic here where you can, if you spy on the enemy one time, then you can see their health bar, you get to know about them, you get to know their defenses and stuff. The mechanics are pretty darn simple, but they have lots of intricate details as well. You can attack your enemies. You have special attacks with like teamwork points. That's kind of their mana system. You've got your HP, you've got your teamwork points that you can do. Sometimes it'll just be a regular attack from one of them, but as you progress, you'll learn like team up moves that utilize both people and will do lots more damage, but will also take out both of them at the same time in terms of their turn order. Or if you've already used one of them, it will take away their next turn. It's fairly intricate in that way. You also have a badge system, or medals in this case, where if you can equip all sorts of types of medals, just stuff to boost HP. You can boost the teamwork points. You can boost like recovery of these things, like gaining some end of a battle or recovering health every couple turns. You have other things like adding like more damage to your basic attacks, or more defense when you do like a super guard block. That's like a perfect block in this case. You have tons of different combos of things you can do. I'm not as into like figuring out those combos, but I have seen some stuff online when I was trying to fight some of the optional bosses, which were really excellent and really tough. People utilizing like the poison badges, or the poison medals to like self-poison, and then since they have another medal equipped, it like boosts their attack and they don't take damage from it, they actually heal from it. There's like a ton of intricate things that you can do to do a ton of damage if you want to do that. Or you can be like me and just brute force your way through, really focusing on like beefing up everybody in their HP and the damage department, not focusing on the defense as much and just really relying on your timing to block attacks. They do a really good job of doing combat here, and I think it's really fantastic. The side quests are really fun, lovable characters. They typically feed into the main story, which I really love. I really appreciate when you can have side quests that really tie into the main story in some capacity at least, and they don't just feel like busy work. I really enjoyed every side quest I did in this game, even the post-game stuff, which was really nice. It tied up like a couple loose ends with some random NPCs, or some that you've been following throughout the entire game, which was really, really cool, and I really enjoyed that quite a bit. There's also tons of bonus collectibles. There's one quest you get at the beginning of the game called Find All the Lore Books for the library. They're missing a ton. It's so difficult. I was going to go for full completion, but there's like, you have to bake every recipe in the game, which amounts to like finding a ton of different items. That's a whole nother facet of things that you can do a ton of stuff with, but I'm just not as into stuff like that. I like the combat. I don't like the item management stuff nearly as much. There's also stuff like finding all the crystal berries, which is like a premium currency that you can trade on the black market to get different badges and stuff. There's tons of extra content you can do, extra little things if you really want to go for full completion. They'll probably take you around the 40 to 45 hour mark if you're really going for it. I think they're pretty darn enjoyable for the most part. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Like, I didn't go for full completion because some of the stuff just wasn't that appealing to me, but I did a whole lot in this game. I did every single side quest in the game minus the books, getting all the crystal berries, stuff like that, but I did all the optional bosses. There are several like mythical bosses that you can go after. There's one that if you beat the boss, it gives you a little seed and you can turn it into a chompling that follows you, one of the little flower enemies in the game. It'll follow you for the rest of the game once you activate it, and it will do like a set amount of damage, which is really, really helpful, especially for the late game. I think the way that they do progression in this game, like the way that the narrative evolves over time and the way that they introduce the antagonists and stuff and how everything just comes together by the end is really excellent. They did a phenomenal job here. Now, my only real gripe with this game is like the platforming doesn't feel like the most tight thing in the world. Some of the controls don't always work exactly how you expect them in the overworld. It's my really major critique. Sometimes I would be doing some of the platforming. You have stuff like Leaf can create ice blocks in the water later on in the game that you can jump on. There's other things like I guess I maybe shouldn't divulge all of these things, but you have lots of intricate platforming at different spots that doesn't feel super intuitive, or it can be frustrating at times. You like utilize their different abilities, like I'll just leave it at that. I won't get into the spoilers for all the things you get because it's kind of fun to unlock these new abilities. But the platforming is a little bit on the weaker side, which is the only thing that really brings it down in my opinion. And sometimes like the way that you can like initiate battles by throwing like Vi's boomerang at enemies in the overworld and it will stun them. And if you attack them, you get a surprise round first. Or if they attack you before you can get away, then they get a surprise round, or if you just come together at the same time, you get a typical round. Sometimes that doesn't work out. You'll like go for a boomerang throw, or I use like Kabu's horn attack and I miss and then I get surprise attacked for it. Stuff like that can be really frustrating. Outside of that, this game is incredible. They really knocked it out of the park for like an independent style game like this to make it feel like just as comparable in quality in almost every way as something like Paper Mario polished by Nintendo, who is notorious for polishing their games pretty darn well. It's really commendable. And again, this is a pretty cheap game. If you get it on sale, this is in like the sub $20 range. It's absolutely worth your time. You will get a lot of hours out of this game. Even if you're just going main story, you will have a ton of fun. But I highly encourage you go for the secondary stuff because it's also really fun and it feeds into the main story in a meaningful way. I really love this game. I had a blast with it. I just finished up all the extra side quests at the end of the game for the post-game content. They did a phenomenal job. I'm going to be giving Bug Fables in between a gold and a platinum rank. This is my first time doing this one. I haven't given it a specific name. If you have a name, if you can think of something in between gold and platinum, I would love to hear it. I'd love to maybe utilize that in the future. But I think just the platforming, the overworld stuff, just brings it down just a little bit to the point where I can't fully give this one a platinum. So in between the gold and platinum, I think is where it's going to sit here. But it is very, very recommendable. And again, if you like that style of RPG, this one is definitely for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.